Welcome to the Wallace Collection in London for a rather unusual episode of Portrait Artist of the Year.
Yes, over the years we've had actors and musicians and sports people and comedians who've come along to sit for the artists. And during that time, a number of them have expressed an interest in doing it themselves.
So we thought it might be fun to let them, just this once. What could possibly go wrong? It's Celebrity Portrait Artist of the Year.
Taking part in today's star-studded art extravaganza are comedians Phil Jupitus and Vic Reeves.
I'd like to say I haven't got a competitive streak, but I think that's just a lie. If I do something that I'm not pleased with, I get terribly depressed.
Weatherman Thomas Schaffernacker, actor Maureen Lipman.
I love to doodle and to paint, but I'm not good if people start shouting at me and saying, "You have 5 minutes, put down your brushes." You know, I get a bit like that, so get a bit Yorkshire.
And finally, comedians Josie Long and Joe Lycett.
I don't think of myself as that competitive, and then I do something like this, and by the end of the day, I will be trying to trip people up, accidentally spill some terps over someone else's work, that kind of thing. So ultimately, it's going to be the most important thing that's ever happened to me by the end of the day.
All 6 celebrities taking part today have one thing in common: a love of art.
I have to do it. It's one of those things I have to do. It's my drug.
They'll be testing their skills to the limit,
The time's going so quickly and I can't bear it.
with just 4 hours to paint their mystery sitters.
He's a Rembrandt from the get-go, you know.
Yeah.
You look at that face.
Spotting a winner in such a riot of talent will require the discerning eye of our 3 expert judges. Art historian Kate Bryan, award-winning artist Taishan Shirenberg, and independent curator Kathleen Soriano.
The top drawings remind me of the Kama Sutra.
What?
Like, stay still.
So who's got the talent?
I've had a look round everyone's, and gosh, they're all terrible artists.
And the temperament
It'd probably be really good television if I did burst into tears and run out.
To make a masterpiece.
This is just the imagination of a bloke with too much glue and scissors gone wild.
and be crowned the first ever Celebrity Portrait Artist of the Year.
You've broken my stride, you've broken my mojo, and most of all, you've broken my spirit.
To prove they've got the creative chops for the task, we asked each of our celebrity contenders to submit an example of their art.
So an unusual wall today. We have 6 pieces of artwork, which the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice are not self-portraits. So have a look, discuss the merits, be brutal.
So there's a little collage.
Where communism meets pin-up. An interesting combination.
It's going for something which is, you know, a bit irreverent, but actually, compositionally, all sits together really well, doesn't it?
And playing with text. So the come on is Lenin saying come on, and the girls are saying come on.
I love this. What an absolutely wonderful tour de force in cross-hatching, in giving us this very, very full scene. It makes me think a bit like a Diego Rivera mural, where he's got everybody doing different things, a bit of social realism, but through the lens of expressionism. I'm really impressed by this.
It's quite a dynamic thing. Tom Daly mid-flight.
Oh, is that who it is? Tom Daly and his swimmers?
It does speak of tension, and the tension is accentuated by the toes, the 2 little toes sticking out the bottom.
2 little toes, big toes,
and then
something
the
wrong.
ear sticking out the left. I mean, it's got all these little...
Well, he's in such movement that the ear's flapping. Also, it's brilliant in the way that it's sort of naively rendered, and then you pop it onto the blue and it says swimming pool.
Look at this fantastic beast.
Mexican Day of the Dead meets...
Sci-fi traveller meets bonkers.
You can see the Mexican Day of the Dead there, a bit of Picasso, and also just brilliant use of colour.
The colour's lovely, the colour's lovely.
And the freedom of using all kinds of mediums. So you've got the painting underneath, you've got the drawing over the top, and it all sits together.
Oh, it's fabulous. I hope we get something as inventive as this today. It's very, very different from the others. The top drawings remind me of the Kama Sutra.
What?
What pose is that, then?
It's the beginning of a pose.
Oh, I see.
It's like, stay still. You'll like it in the end.
And finally, a rather fine portrait.
Absolutely. I mean, a really impeccable piece of photorealism.
Attenborough's skin, it's so well rendered. You feel the age of the skin. I mean, those eyes are incredible.
They are.
Not only the irises, which are changing in colour,
Yeah.
but the eyelids.
And also just the watery eye.
Very impressive.
It's a well-established fact that all celebrities are completely self-obsessed. But today they're going to have to focus on someone else's face, and they're about to find out whose.
Artist, your sitter is an author, journalist and columnist whose laugh-aloud novel The Thinkler Question won him the Man Booker Prize. And remarkably, another of his novels, The Act of Love, is actually set in this building. Please welcome the writer, Howard Jacobson.
As well as 19 novels, Howard is also author of non-fiction, newspaper columns and even television documentaries.
Am I a house? You don't know what you're in for.
And he's no stranger to the Wallace collection.
You set a novel in this museum?
Yes, an erotic novel.
Right,
Yeah. It's a very erotic gallery. Have you noticed that? It's got the kind of damask walls and it feels slightly brothely.
Some quite sexy pictures, too.
Very sexy pictures, mainly of people's mistresses.
OK, that's...
Artists, your sitter today is an internationally renowned entrepreneur thanks to her role as the founder of the MOBO Awards. She helped take black music from the margins of British culture right to the heart of the mainstream. And she's been named as one of the UK's 100 most powerful women. It's the magnificent Kanya King.
Since launching the MOBO Awards in 1996, Kanya has transformed the brand into a global powerhouse, championing diversity in music and across arts and culture.
How you doing?
Very good, actually. It's just nice to sit still.
You're a busy woman normally?
It's been very busy.
Well, you've got 4 hours.
4 hours.
Just to sit in that chair.
Wow.
How's it going to be, do you think?
I'm worried about falling asleep.
Well, you fall asleep. We'd give you a
Because I'm
cross.
not used to sitting still.
OK. Well, good luck, everybody.
Thank you.
Artists, your sitter is one of today's most impressive acting talents. Already a star of film, television and theatre. Please welcome Billy Howell.
Despite only graduating from theatre school in 2013, rising star Billy has already landed classic stage roles, TV dramas, and the lead in the feature film of Ian McEwan's novel On Chesil Beach.
Already you've got a very varied career, theatre.
Yeah, no, theatre is my background, really, and was my first love. And I moved into sort of television and film, and things have been on the up since. So,
They
yeah.
certainly have. Right, artists, how would you like Billy to sit?
Take your shoes off.
Take your clothes off.
Just because I love the shoes, I might steal them.
I suppose taking the clothes off is not an option, is it, really?
Push it, Maureen. I think we should.
I feel like it's 4 hours. You've got to be comfortable. I wouldn't want to be like, please put one hand in the air for 4 hours.
Comfortable?
Is that comfortable?
What does the word comfortable mean?
I just say it doesn't bother me.
I'm a writer, I've never been comfortable. And I'm hoping that the portrait will suggest the sublimity of my discomfort. Can you do that?
I can do that, yeah. In spades.
Celebrity artists, the time has come for you to show us what you can do.
You have 4 hours to complete your portraits. Good luck to you all. Your time starts now.
How big do you want to be, Billy?
Huge.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of paint to cover in 4 hours.
OK, all right, let's go smaller then.
Oh, wow, this is really close.
Upwards a little bit. I think we've got it.
I might come back for another one in a minute.
I look forward to it.
Most artists begin by familiarising themselves with their sitter's features.
I'm just drawing with a pencil, getting to know the face. And what a fantastic face.
But some of them are taking a more interactive approach.
You happy with that? That's what you're getting?
He's going to be giggling all the time because of Joe.
Oh, don't blame me.
Yeah, shut up, Joe. Some of us are trying to work here.
What was the first gig you ever went to?
The Beatles, I reckon.
You know the Beatles?
They hadn't cut a record
Yeah.
yet, and they were rubbish.
Pick a card. Right, OK.
How's it going?
I'm just going to do some little composite bits. I got him to pick a card out of my pack of nudie cards from the 1950s.
OK.
I'm going to do a cartoon to start the thing off. So I do the title bar, drawing Howard Jacobson for the tellies.
OK.
I keep seeing bits I've missed.
The H.
Thanks, mate.
And the R.
The R, you're quite right.
I'm just picking up little errors.
Little.
Little
They're not
omissions.
errors, Judgy. They're just bits I've missed. What?
Before finding fame as a comedian, Phil Jupitus was a political poet and cartoonist. His submission artwork is a mixed media collage, incorporating vintage images and found text. And today is the first time Phil's ever been faced with a live sitter.
How much have you spoken to Howard?
I had a little chat with him at the beginning, but it's the weird thing when you're drawing. It feels a bit rude because you do a lot of ignoring them. I don't mean to be rude, Howard. You're there.
Look at that
and I know
stare.
that he's great.
It's
He
a
is
good
brilliant.
stare.
He's a Rembrandt, definitely. His face is art, isn't it?
Why can't I get any money for it?
I like the boots, but I like them as a sort of entity. He decided to come in those boots to show that he's a young, thrusting lad on the verge of his career. So I thought, well, let's do the boots. Then I'm saying something about how he felt when he came to work. There's a bit of psychology going on there.
Award-winning actor and writer Maureen Lipman regularly depicts her fellow cast members, such as in her pen and ink drawing of the 1972 Old Vic production of the play The Front Page.
Now, Maureen, I think it was probably you who asked him to take his boots off. Are you interested in the boots or the feet, or both?
I'm a foot fetishist.
Fine.
Now I've given myself a double problem, hands and feet.
This is an enormously ambitious undertaking.
Is it?
Other people are just doing a head, you see?
Chickens, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to do him with rotring. I'd like
Okay.
to do the background with colour. I'd like to bring in some oil pastels.
OK.
Overkill is my middle name.
Maureen, are you enjoying
I'm
yourself?
having a tremendous time. Razor blades.
I've gone quite close on Kanya's face, but we're going to make it look really beautiful. She is beautiful, and it's a really nice pose, and we're going to really focus on the eyes and the lovely smile.
When not forecasting the weather on radio and television, meteorologist Thomas Schaffenacker relaxes by making hyper-realist colour pencil portraits of his heroes, such as David Attenborough. Usually spending hundreds of hours on one artwork, for today's challenge, Thomas has adapted his painstaking process to the faster medium of watercolour.
Thomas, it's like a maths class meets an art class here.
So I started with an X grid. I'm measuring crucial points of her face and then projecting it with pencil onto my paper. And it's only in the last hour, hour and a half, when I wash it with a lot of watercolour, that's when the magic happens. I can't wait to get stuck into the paints, because that's the really fun bit.
Your pencil drawing has taken a slightly savage turn.
He's gone quite sinister, isn't he?
Wild.
He's a wild man. And now I've done this, I know what he looks like and who he looks like. I'm going to lose this and start on a painting.
Right.
Do you think we could get rid of him and get Al Pacino in?
Best known as his comic alter ego, Vic Reeves, actor and comedian Jim Moyer is also a keen painter. His submission artwork began life as a traditional oil portrait before being transformed with a layer of colour using acrylic pens.
I associate you quite closely with art, and I also imagine you come from an arty family. I've got this image of you all sitting around the front room, all behind your own easel.
Yeah, you're not far off.
Really?
My dad was artisan wood craftsman, and then my mum would paint on the wood, and then we'd spend our weekends at craft fairs.
Really?
I'd sell my paintings there.
Would you? So is this a story of, like, an artist at heart who ended up having to go into other forms of...
It was... No, I always... Actually, I did. When I went to... I left school and I said to my dad, I said, I want to go to art school. And he said, you name me one person who's been to art school who's made some money. I said, Andy Warhol. And he went...
Maybe 2 people.
Yeah.
Under the watchful eye of an art-loving public, our wannabe Warhols are an hour into their challenge.
It's taken me an hour to understand that I don't have to get it right. Just because 17 million people are watching, I shouldn't feel nervous or get a hot flush. No.
I'm loosening up, I'm getting in there. I'm kind of going into my own zone. I know there's people hanging around back there, spies, looking at, seeing what I'm doing. You can just imagine going, that's not very good, is it?
There's Joan Bakewell. They're crushing her for years. Who would not want her as an art teacher? Come on, be fair. If at any point she leans over my shoulder and goes, I like that, I'm done for the day. I'm out.
Temporarily ditching their day jobs, our 6 celebrities are an hour into their challenge to create portraits of writer Howard Jacobson, actor Billy Howell, and entrepreneur Kanya King.
I'm really excited to draw Kanya because she's such an influential person. She's done so much to change culture, and I want to sort of bring a sense of that power and strength and achievement. But my dream is to do a good portrait.
Comedian Josie Long began performing stand-up comedy at just 14 years old. Having always drawn as a hobby, Josie regularly incorporates her drawings into her live shows, and for 6 years also had a satirical cartoon strip in the Guardian newspaper.
How much time do you get to do art then?
Not as much as I'd like.
Really?
I was doing a regular column, but at the moment, not so much.
And you're going to have maybe a little less time for art because you're...
Having a baby.
First
Here.
baby. How exciting.
I don't know how hippie this sounds, but I started doing art therapy for pregnant women. So we had to draw lots of things about fears about the birth, hopes about the baby and stuff like that.
And how long to go?
About 3 weeks, maybe just a little over.
Well, it might be here today.
I promise if it comes today, I'm going to finish the drawing. I'm a professional.
Push. Now draw. Now push. What I know about childbirth and what I've seen, it's a very relaxing process.
Oh, I've heard. Just going back to my art therapy now.
I don't think it's bad, actually. I think it's one of the better ones that I've done in terms of a likeness. I text my mum as sort of early version of it. She's not been hugely supportive, I'll be honest. She says, watch length of chin and position of ear, which I think looks wrong. He has a narrower head, more oblong. And then she put narrower neck. So if Helen Lycett's anything to go by, it doesn't look anything like him.
Despite a previous career as a graphic designer, comedian Joe Lycett only began painting 18 months ago, inspired by his mother Helen taking up watercolours as a retirement hobby. His artwork, titled Plop, captures an action snapshot of Olympic diver Tom Daley.
Joe, I don't mean to cast aspersions, but given your Tom Daley likeness, I'm rather surprised to see that you've sort of got something about our city today.
Do you think?
And I'm really pleased to see that there's the trademark Lycett ear.
Yeah, well, I didn't realise it was a trademark. I obviously just can't get ears the right size.
Oh, no. I think it's your signature style. I would stick with it because, you know, forgeries won't become an issue. We'll always know once there's a flapping ear on the side of a head that it works completely.
Well, that's... yes, well, I'll keep doing that then.
Howard looks good.
Well, thank you.
Is portraits your thing?
Not really, no. Well, no, it is, actually, yeah. Yeah, it is, yeah.
You can't backpedal.
I can. I just did. Yeah, I do like doing portraits. I like situations as well.
Oh, right. You like stories?
Yeah, I like
Well, there's a story here, isn't there?
There is a story, yeah.
I want to see where
This goes, so do I. You and me both.
Okay.
Demonstrating his storytelling approach to portraiture, Phil's also achieving his ambition to share a moment with his favourite arts presenter.
That's the strip that's very...
So that'll be there, that'll be part of it, so it's going to be like a composite of different things. That is my starting point, and I can build everything else around that.
You've really got it, actually.
I've done you and all, you're in there and all.
I know,
You're in
yes.
there, there's the frame where
I'm
I mean, I've not quite got you, it's just a one-off.
Well, that's what I am.
That's because
I'm a one-off.
There's no off switch on the Bakewell. No off switch. Not even a mute button.
Oh, go on you go.
Thank you, John Bakewell.
Discovering that creative success can be elusive, Maureen's gone in search of inspiration.
Maureen, you've left the desk, you're aware, you're leaning against the wall.
The painting that I started was horrible. And so I just took the decision that I had to go back to basics, start again, because that what I was doing was showing off rather than, I was trying to do it very fast and I just wanted to get an impression, and then the background was in.
I think it's often like that when you go headlong at things the first time. You need to sort of get that out of the way so that you can then produce something as touching and as elegant as this is. I think you've really caught something.
There's something very vulnerable about a lad.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's the juxtaposition of the big boots and the rather sort of delicate wrists.
Yeah.
This idea of the boots, I think that's a lovely way into your sitter.
But for Thomas, pencil drawing is just the first step in his strategy for success.
I'm not confident enough to attempt to paint a portrait just with watercolours straight away, and I know a lot of great watercolourists do that, but I haven't got the experience.
You need the drawing underneath.
I need the drawing.
Now, you're using a grid. Is that to help you get the features in the right place, or are you using it to intimidate Josie? Josie, have you got a grid yet?
I've got too many grids.
Thomas keeps saying to me, no grid, no win.
Oh, no.
Battling for that prestigious win, our 6 competitive celebrities are reaching the halfway point of their portrait challenge.
They made his nose too small. His mouth's quite tricky to do as well. He's got a really good mouth. I think the eyes aren't quite right, but everything else is perfect.
Before I started, I was absolutely terrified. And then I got to a point where I was like, I actually think this is really good. But now I'm back to thinking like, oh no, this will never work, it's terrible. I should have done a grid.
I've done what I consider to be quite a drab painting. Just deciding whether to introduce a lot more colour and completely change it. I'm starting to think orange trousers and a yellow face. What colour's your jacket? Charcoal?
No, it's navy.
Is it?
And it's made by Armani, if that helps you.
At the Wallace Collection in London, we've invited 6 talented celebrities to try their hand at competitive portraiture. They're immortalising sitters Howard Jacobson, Kanya King and Billy Howell, who are musing on the nature of live modelling.
It's a really interesting dynamic. There are 3 characters, if you like, in quite an extraordinary social dynamic. We are essentially strangers, so I'd be really interested to see what each of them have done, and what they've made of me.
It's been riveting watching the artists working. I'm actually in awe of them. It's just, I guess, reignited my own passion in drawing, so I always want to start painting myself.
I mean, what's not to enjoy? You've got everybody gathered round. Normally, I have to write a novel before I get this kind of attention. For an egotistical person like myself, this is a dream job.
So the sitters are having a blast, but how are the artists doing?
We're halfway through, and isn't it maddening to discover that people who are very good at one thing can be extremely good at something else?
Renaissance men and women.
We've got Jim, who has been through several pieces of art already.
Yeah, he started with a fantastic drawing, really wanted to negotiate the face. He's now been putting the painting in as it is, proving to us that he can be a figurative painter. The next phase is to bring all of that bonkersness to it that we saw in his submission.
Jim's portrait of Howard reminds me of sort of 60s countercultural magazines like the Furry Freak Brothers. It's like Howard's taken a lot of drugs and he's recovering. It's kind of... So I think his craziness has started already.
Next to him we have Phil, using his history involving in comics.
I think it's great because he's broken the fourth wall. I think we've only had 1 or 2 artists ever on this competition reference the situation we find ourselves in.
And the way in which Phil is using documentation actually is really, really contemporary, creating a narrative through gathering all the information of the current experience they're having. So he's right on the money.
And Kanye's section, we've got Josie and Thomas.
Thomas, I'm so surprised that he's managing already to get that hyper-realist detail there. We know his submission took over 100 hours, and he's got 4 today, but he seems to be very calm. He's been practicing a lot.
There's a cold front sweeping across that. Well, he's under very high pressure.
What about Josie, then?
Well, Josie has been very self-deprecating all day. Is that insecurity justified?
Josie's quite interesting because being self-deprecating is giving herself license to enjoy herself. Her drawing isn't particularly sophisticated.
The idea of being sophisticated, smooth, putting paint down in a beautiful way, it doesn't really form a huge part of the contemporary art market. You see people working in a naive style.
There's a warmth there,
and it's just fantastic.
And then we've got Billy's section with Joe and Maureen.
And Maureen's struggled to find an angle, but seems to have hit the jackpot.
Maureen's corner.
Yeah.
She leaned herself up against a wall, and then suddenly she just got into her groove.
It was like, you know, we said, ready, steady, go, and she went straight in, and actually what she didn't do probably is give herself time to think. But I think it's worked in her favour, because she's sort of got all of that out of her system. Yeah. So what we're now seeing is something purer and very tender.
Joe has been painting this large, monumental pink head that veers between sort of pop and comic strips coming together. And I think it's rather beautiful. I don't know whether it's Billy that much, but it's a believable head.
Going to be an exciting afternoon. And who knows, we might get a stand-up gig at the end of it.
Do you know what? I'm going to put that to one side and do a quick one. Round 2. Right, let's do some art. Just as I go to start, Maureen comes in, sorting the shoes out.
Give me 2 minutes, I'll put them back.
This is quickly becoming clear that it was a bad idea.
What's happened? Have you entered your blue period?
What does it remind you of?
Reminds me of some ham.
I've done the chorizo, man. If I offered you a role as a chorizo in a play, would you do it?
Yeah, sure.
This is the poster.
Cured, exclamation mark. That's what it would be.
There you go.
Also working at speed and possibly achieving greater likeness, Phil's moved on to his second piece.
The sketch of Howard was about 20 minutes, quarter of an hour. Quite fast, because I think the essence of someone's face is, it's just there, isn't it? You know. So I've got my cartoon and my sketch are both trimmed down, and now I'm seeing it next to the cartoon. I can get in a bit more of a sense of the image and how the other elements are going to fit in.
Under competition conditions, every artistic decision can be a nerve-wracking moment.
Well, Josie, I just caught you in time to hear the phrase, I think I made a mistake.
Yeah. I don't really put colour in anything I do. I'd love to sort of have some flashes. So I decided I was going to put some pen into her hair to, like, do highlights. And I just
don't know what
I like that, because that's what this picture is about. It's about her enormous presence.
Yes.
And her staggering head and hair. We're looking for the style that we see in your strip cartoons, which is a marvellous summary of people.
Oh, thanks. That's a big relief.
At the other end of the colour spectrum, Jim's facing his own dilemma.
You started with this, you know, quite classical, realistic, relatively traditional approach.
Yeah.
And then it starts becoming more further removed.
And then you get to the point you think, well, do I stop now or do I carry on?
Ooh, where could it go from here, then?
Well, I don't know. I'd like to bring out the colours, but if I bring the colours out, especially on these trousers, they're going to, like, really, like, shoot out at you, aren't they?
They're pretty funky trousers at the moment, aren't they?
With less than an hour to go, our celebrities must use their time wisely to complete their masterpieces.
I've given him no bottom. My task is to sit him down in the chair. At the moment, the chair and his tochus are exactly the same thing.
I've got loads to do on this still. It looks like a human being. Admittedly, a human being who's been attacked somehow, but it looks like a human being, so I'm happy with that.
I've made elements for the finished piece, so I've got them in place. Now's the arranging is the fun bit. Well, now's all gravy. Now's going to be a giggle. Now is when I ruin it.
Vying for the prestigious title of Celebrity Portrait Artist of the Year, our 6 contenders are nearing the end of their creative challenge.
Oh, right, you're going over.
I'm improvising. It looks like I know what I'm doing, but I'm just taking a risk because I know that time is of the essence.
No, go, no.
I've finished. I could do more, but I'd probably mess it up, so I'd best leave it as it is. There's 15 minutes left. I'd really like a soft drink.
Hello and welcome to Garden Collage here on Sky, where we go out into the garden to do a little bit of light garden decoupage. And today, we're making a piece for the columnist and author Howard Jacobson. No one told me there would be taxis.
With just minutes to spare, there are still crucial decisions hanging in the balance.
Which is your personal favourite?
This one, I feel, has an animal raw quality to it. It's
How
more
much do you want to buy
refined.
it for?
I wouldn't necessarily want to buy it. Artists, you have 5 minutes.
How long?
Oh, I said that with real authority. That told them.
Got 5 minutes. I might call my mum.
I should just be stopped now and my hands tied, because otherwise I'm going to ruin it. And I'm furious about him. He's ringing his mother and asking her for tips. I'm going to complain to Joan Bakewell.
Hello, Mum. So I've got 4 minutes to decide because I've done 2, right? There are 2. Here's 1. Yeah. Or there's this one. I don't know what to do.
I don't mind either.
You don't mind either. All right, well, I'm obviously going to win, so you don't need to worry about that. Has anyone got a coin? It's that one.
Artists, your time is up.
Please step away from your portraits. Well done.
After a hard day's posing, our sitters finally get to see themselves immortalised and select which version of themselves they'd like to take home.
Billy, the ordeal is over.
I had a really lovely, interesting time. There was a lot of banter in this corner, quite healthy competition.
Right, will you turn your easels round?
Take a deep breath. Do you love it?
Yeah, I'm blown away. For a number of reasons. I particularly like the attention to detail, the blue in the eyes.
Yes, you've got blue eyes.
I do, yeah.
So I made them blue.
I really like that, though, because there's this sort of expectation to do
well.
To do well. and then in the last kind of segment of time, you know, something really exciting and spontaneous happens. I really like the quirky nature of it.
Thanks, man.
There's a sort of sadness to it, I think. Yeah, it's very soulful. I think it's lovely.
Thank you. If I had to do it again, I'd lift you up a bit so I could get this vulnerable little foot in.
Right. Moment of choice?
I love them both for very different reasons. Due to its sensitivity and subject, I'd say I'm going to go with this one.
Well done. Well done.
Kanya, you were smiling at the beginning of the day, and you're still smiling. How was it?
It's been a surreal day.
Has it?
But I've loved it.
Right then, let's not keep you in suspense any longer. Artists, please turn your easels.
Wow.
Very different, huh?
Very different.
But they're both you,
They are.
unmistakably. Right, let's have a closer look.
It's just so impressive.
Yeah.
It's so bold and courageous. And the detail, the eyes are just sparkling. There's so much warmth and also so much honesty. It feels like there's nothing that's been hidden. I feel like there's been two lives, actually, during this. And in years to come, when I meet the little one, I can say, you know, you played a part in the creative process.
Definitely. Right, you have to pick one of these to take home with you.
I'm going to go for this one.
OK, Howard, how was it for you?
Absolutely fantastic. I've been in this arena, the arena of me, bliss.
Right, well, artists, please turn your easels round.
Oh, my. I look like the devil in yours.
Do you think?
Yes. I look quite sainted on yours. He's done me as the devil, and you've done me as sainted.
We did one for each shoulder, Howard.
Why is there a topless...
At the beginning of the day, I told you to pick a card. And, Howard, that was your card.
And it all makes sense.
Yeah,
Somewhere, it all makes sense.
It's fantastic, actually. It really is fantastic.
It's so inventive.
It's got things coming out.
Yeah, that's vibrations coming out of you. And also, the hair's quite tricky.
You haven't got to deal with it in the morning.
I will do if you want.
And I like the trousers, too.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of colour coming out of your trousers.
When I came out, I said to my wife, do you think I should iron my trousers? Because I thought they were a bit creased. And she said, nobody's going to look at your trousers. Where is she? Nobody's going to look at my trousers?
You do have to choose between them.
That's tough, isn't it?
It is.
That's very tough. And although you've made me look divine and you've made me look like the devil, I go for the devil.
The devil wins all the bets you win.
Thank you so much. Fantastic.
With the celebrities exhausted from their efforts, the judges get to assess their creations.
First of all, Phil, who's given us plenty to look at, and also He's given us a really good likeness of Howard.
Yeah, we got more from Phil today than we even did with his submission. His submission showed us that he's interested in collage. And today he's done that, but then we've also got a comic strip and we've got the portrait. And all of these elements are reference points. Became a story of Phil capturing Howard.
I think he's given us a really good portrait of Howard as well.
Yeah, he can really draw, and in different ways.
He even sums it up. It all makes sense. It does.
Next to him, also of Howard, is Jim's colour fantasia.
Howard enjoys being grumpy and cussed, and so in his face there's this kind of enjoyment of this. But what really sells for me is that beautiful left foot with a little pink sock. I mean, it's just lovely accent. That eye goes through the painting, then goes out through the foot. So it's a very well constructed composition.
And then we have Thomas's watercolour of Kanya.
For someone who is so wedded to hyper-realism, which takes so much time, to be brave enough to take a risk and use a different technique today and do it successfully, I think is really impressive. The hair is just fantastic.
What about Josie?
I'm really pleased that Josie went with the colour. The gorgeous red lips of Kanya, she's really allowing them to pop.
I just like the joy in, actually, of the making of it. It just comes across. Kanya, as a sitter, has that as well. I think there's a kind of communion in the drawing, that kind of just joy of the day, really.
Maureen found an angle to draw Billy. Took her a while, but when she found it, really worked.
Yeah, her sweet spot was about here, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This was her leaning wall. She didn't have a particularly brilliant start, and then quite brilliantly she just said, well, it was awful. And, and just started again.
I loved the interaction Maureen had with Billy's pose in the sense that she wanted to get the boots, and that had been the driving force, and they were in the wrong place, and she replaced them to make the drawing work.
And at the end, if ever you wanted a portrait to say something about not just the sitter, but the painter, that is Joe's lovely portrait.
Joe's like a performance art painter. That's such an intrinsic part of the way that he creates his work. He had a real interaction with the sitter. There's a kind of wonkiness to it, but his control of the wonkiness is very, very convincing. I'm totally on board with this painting.
Yeah, the wonkiness is really well composed, isn't it? It's funny, I don't want to say anything bad about Joe's mum. I think, actually, she made the wrong decision. I think the head this morning was, for me, the more brilliant painting, but both the portraits of Billy say more about Joe than anything in the world could, really.
So now you've got a bit of discussing to do to whittle the 6 down to 1.
So who will the judges select as their winner?
Artists, each and every one of you has done wonderful work and given us so much pleasure watching. But of course, you know that only one of you can be Celebrity Portrait Artist of the Year.
And the judges have decided who that will be. The artist they have chosen created an authentic likeness of their sitter with an inventive approach and an irreverent spirit. And that artist is... Jim Moyer.
It's fantastic. I'm very pleased with myself. I do. I felt kind of, like, I think it's a big deal for me. I feel like it's a big deal. It's nice to win, isn't it?
Amazing!
Love it. Jim's portrait was really quite phenomenal. The colour, it was distinctly Jim. And he stood out head and shoulders above the others, really.
I've never won anything before. I won a meat draw a long time ago in a pub. Tonight, I will celebrate my victory via the gift of gin and tonic and peanuts.
If you've been inspired and would like to find out how to take part in the series, visit our website, skyartsartistoftheyear.tv.